So what's it really like to live with a Royal Enfield Classic 350 and a big bore kit? Well, Francine has just crossed the 1,500 mile mark, and I've got some thoughts you might want to hear. The break-in period, the power gains, the quirks, and yeah, the surprises. Also, whether or not I would do this kit again. I'll walk you through how Francine has changed and whether or not this kit might be right for you. Stay tuned. So for the first 300 miles, I took it really slow with Francine. So there weren't really any aha moments as far as the power gain, stuff like that, because I kept more or less the speed under 45, 50 miles an hour. And I tried to really keep the revs down below 4,000, although I did vary the RPMs so that I did get a really good break-in. So what's the reliability been like? Well, actually, I haven't really noticed anything. She's just as reliable as she was before, and now is just stronger. Same thump, more pull. But I do need to mention something. Since I installed the Hunter 350 ECU and throttle body, that comes with some quirks that you might want to know about. And the reason I installed the Hunter 350 ECU and throttle body is because the Classic 350 is speed limited, yes, hardwired speed limited to 75 miles an hour indicated, which means you're really only going to be able to get up to 72 miles an hour. I've talked about that in previous videos. And I think I talked about some of the quirks with the Hunter 350 throttle body and ECU, but let's go over that real quick. So the main thing is that the Hunter ECU cannot see the neutral light or the neutral indicator from the Classic 350. So that does a couple of things. One, it'll send a check engine light up to the dash. And for some reason, some people have been able to clear that okay, and other people haven't. I have not yet been able to clear that, but I'm still looking for that dumb adapter from the ECU reader that I got from Hitchcock's. I have tried it with an OBD2 reader adapter. I have a app on my phone called Torque that you can use to pull codes from a car, motorcycle, anything. And I have done that. I've tried to clear the code from there, and it doesn't seem to work. But what I do is I do check that with some regularity, and I listen to Francine every time we're out, intent listening to make sure that nothing is going wrong, and she's been performing beautifully. So I have no real worries about having that constant check engine light on. I just feel like I have to be a little bit more on top of it. The other thing with that neutral light issue is, so you lose your neutral light, and since the Hunter ECU cannot see the sensor, therefore when you put the kickstand down, that comes with a consequence in that it kills the engine because it can't sense that the bike is in neutral. So when I come to my gate, or I come to a place where I need to pull off to the side of the road, somewhere where I would normally let the bike just run, I put it neutral, put it on the side stand. I no longer have that function. I just have to kill the bike and then restart it when I'm done. So if that's a quirk that you can't live with, then the Hunter ECU might not be worth it for you, but in order for me to get to higher speeds, it was real necessary. See, I didn't grow up on bikes that had neutral lights or a kill switch that was attached to your kickstand. So these really aren't deal breakers for me. Not to mention that the Royal Enfield Classic 350 has an awesome transmission, and finding neutral, especially with the heel toe shifter, is super easy. And I think all of that has been a small price to pay for the performance gains that I've been able to experience with Francine. After that initial 300 miles, after installing the big bore kit, I did a first service oil change again using Amsoil's 15W50 that I had gotten in that initial box from Clovis Lubricants. And also I want to mention, like up to that 300-mile mark, I had been running the preloaded Race 2 map from PowerTRONIC that was on there. I just kept it like in the number 2 position until then, and I actually continued to use that after the first oil change. So after that first oil change, at the 300-mile mark, more or less, give or take a couple miles, I started to really push Francine a little harder. I started taking her on slower sections of the interstate, and I started to, do more acceleration run-ups. And between 300 and 500, I just kind of started to push her a little bit harder. That's where I started to be able to notice what the Kent cam and the big bore kit were doing. Now I was still running a preloaded map from PowerTRONIC, but I was able to feel that mid to high range gains in power. She was able to accelerate up a little bit faster, and I was able to get up to highway speeds faster than when she was stock, and even faster than after I'd put on the initial PowerTRONIC and the Fuel X Pro Plus. Now around 900-mile mark post big bore kit, I did something that completely changed Francine. It has been such a good addition to everything that we've done with the bike physically. It really complemented it, and that's that I came up with a custom map, both fueling and ignition, to load into the PowerTRONIC. This map completely changed the game. The mid-range from, say, 3,500 to 6,000 and over really got a big boost of power. And although I haven't officially clocked her, I believe I've cut the 0 to 60 mile an hour time pretty much in half. Now we're gonna dig into that custom map and how I kind of went about that and the philosophy and a little bit of the science behind that in a upcoming episode. So make sure to subscribe and to get the notification for when that comes out. But one thing that I hadn't expected to come from this map was that I got a much smoother idle. See, when I initially installed a bunch of this performance stuff, including the exhaust, the PowerTRONIC, the Fuel X, and the DNA air filter, something kind of weird happened with the idle, in that the idle would drift around a little bit, and sometimes when the bike got really warm, riding out kind of more in the heat and, well in, or probably halfway into, say a half-hour ride or so, the idle would climb where, like my idle was climbing up to like 15, 16, 17, 1800 RPM. And I thought that was really weird. But ever since that I came up with my custom map, the idle has tamed down. It's very cool, and it was an unexpected benefit. Now to test this custom map that I came up with, I have a 9-mile loop that's really only got a couple stop signs. So what I did was I took Francine and I had the Race 2 map on one position of the PowerTRONIC, and I had my custom map on another position. You can store 2 full maps. And I rode Francine back to back on that 9-mile loop using first the preloaded Race 2 map, and then I used my custom map. And the difference was like night and day. When I first started the loop, the second time, I didn't quite notice it, but then when I got to the hilly parts and started giving her more revs, it was like night and day. With the Race 2 map, she felt perfectly capable, but with the custom map that I came up with, she came alive. In fact, Francine, she's got a bit of a hooligan in her now. She can still ride proper and classy like a classic 350 should, but if I crack the throttle and wind her up a bit, she becomes that tattooed friend who pulls you into trouble. She actually, now I notice a lot, you know how bikes just sort of pull you into a certain speed zone? She really likes going 60 or faster. Maybe not super fast, but she does really like going 60. Before we wrap up, I want to send out a huge thank you to all of you who watched the big bore installation video. Thank you, and thanks for subscribing. And everybody who's been a part of the ride so far, I want to say thank you, and thank you for the encouragement, your questions, and feedback. I also have to give a big shout out to Amsoil and Clovis Lubricants in particular for helping support that big bore build. Make sure to check out the link down below and use my member number as a reference or as a referral number. I'd sure appreciate it, and I know so would they. Now, if you haven't checked out that big bore install, I'm going to put up a link in the corner so that you can go check that video out. So what's Francine like after 1,500 miles with the big bore kit? Well, she's stronger, she's smoother, but she still has that character of a classic 350, but now with a sharp bite when I need it. And I think that's a win-win here because I've gained a classic 350 with some performance, and she hasn't lost her soul. Thanks for riding along with me. Stay tuned for that tuning video coming up. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and we'll be coming out with a lot more content soon.